Hello, and welcome to the Sleepy Brain Facts channel. Tonight, you embark on a journey through the enchanting world of rivers, those quiet yet powerful architects of our planet. They carve paths through stone, nourish forests with vital nutrients, and carry the echoes of ancient civilizations in every grain of silt. A river has the ability to shape entire valleys, serve as the lifeblood of cities, and conceal mountains within the layers beneath its banks. Some flow unseen beneath the Earth's surface, while others shimmer with rare minerals, tracing routes once followed by ancient kingdoms or migrating wildlife. Each river holds stories that are both wondrous and captivating. You will discover rivers that have transformed continents, fostered civilizations, and concealed remarkable wonders beneath their surfaces. From expansive tropical channels to narrow desert streams, rivers unveil the slow yet powerful forces that sculpt our world. If you find joy in these tranquil explorations, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share your thoughts below. Your engagement helps others discover this haven, one sleepy soul at a time. For now, take a deep breath. Allow the day to drift away and let the gentle flow of water soothe your thoughts. Let's embark on a journey together. Underground rivers have the power to transform entire landscapes, even though they remain hidden from view. Deep beneath the surface, water flows through concealed passageways where sunlight never reaches. In regions rich with limestone, it seeps into narrow fractures, gradually widening them until the rock opens like a secret door. Over centuries, tiny rivulets merge into mighty currents, capable of carving vast chambers that could easily swallow entire city blocks. Stalactites and stone curtains form in the silent darkness, marking the slow, rhythmic pulse of geological time. Above, the land appears tranquil, yet the ground may be hollowed out like a honeycomb. Hills rise where the ceilings are strong, while valleys emerge where they collapse. Some forests thrive atop arches that once echoed with the sounds of flowing water. When a surface stream vanishes into a sinkhole and reemerges in a different valley, it reveals the existence of these hidden networks. Entire landscapes can shift, tilt, or even open up, all because these unseen rivers have been patiently sculpting the world from below. The Indus River once nurtured Bronze Age cities, which thrived in harmony with its rhythms. Long before written language chronicled the daily lives of ancient peoples, the settlements along this floodplain learned to navigate the dual nature of a river that could be bountiful one year and unpredictable the next. As you reflect on this, consider the power of nature's hidden forces and how they shape our world. You might find it intriguing to explore this further, or take a moment to rest in this thought. You discover the remnants of ancient streets, meticulously arranged in perfect grids, designed to channel runoff from the city when the waters rise. Deep wells are carved into rich alluvium, ensuring families can access clean groundwater, replenished by distant snowmelt. Farmers cultivate these dark, fertile soils left behind after seasonal floods recede, creating landscapes capable of nurturing entire populations. As you explore, you envision workshops bustling with activity, trading goods along water routes that stretch beyond the horizon. Boats transport grain, pottery, and stone from one fortified town to another, weaving a vibrant network of connected communities. But when climate shifts disrupt the river's flow and its reliable pulse fades, these once thriving cities begin to decline. Yet the remnants still whisper stories of a civilization that thrived by understanding the rhythm of a powerful and ever-changing river. Some rivers possess the strength to reshape distant coastlines. Away from the headwaters, where mountains descend into foothills, great channels gather sediment from every hillside and valley they traverse. grain by grain, they accumulate the material that once formed cliffs, forests, and plains. As these swollen currents reach the sea, the mingling of fresh and salt water slows their momentum, compelling them to release their precious cargo. As the years pass, mud and sand accumulate, forming expansive deltas that stretch into the ocean like giant fans. New land emerges in the gentle waves. Marshes rise, channels weave into intricate paths, and underwater ridges grow tall enough for plants to take root. Birds, crabs, and fish eagerly inhabit this fresh territory, paving the way for human settlements to follow. From above, these deltas resemble fingerprints pressed into the coastline, reshaping the edges of continents and transforming open water into vast plains. Coastlines that seem eternal can shift remarkably as a river far inland continues its slow, steady work. Long before written records, ancient peoples understood the rhythms of river floods. Those living alongside unpredictable currents observed their surroundings with remarkable attention. They recognized which stars appeared on the horizon just before the waters swelled, which insects emerged when the banks turned muddy, and which winds swept through the valley on the eve of a flood. These observations became the foundation of early calendars, long before ink met clay. Knowledge was shared through stories told around fires, preserving the wisdom of the ages. In the Psalms, you discover the early days of planting, a time when ceremonies celebrated the return of water, bringing with it the promise of renewal. Villages marked significant floods by carving notches into stone pillars, creating a lasting memory for generations to come. Fields were strategically placed to benefit from the rich, dark sediment left behind by these floods, enhancing the fertility of the soil. Homes were built on mounds, shaped by ancestors to remain safe from overflowing waters. Even without written language, these communities learned to interpret their rivers with remarkable accuracy. They built their cultures on observation, patience, and a profound respect for the water that sustained their lives. The Yukon River stands as a testament to human journeys across vast continents. In this northern wilderness, where winters seem to stretch endlessly and summers burst forth in vibrant green, the river weaves through a landscape sculpted by ancient ice. Along its bluffs, erosion unveils layers of frozen silt, acting as a vault of time. Archaeologists have unearthed artifacts, bones, and tools belonging to those who traversed this region when a land bridge once linked far-flung continents. These early travelers used the river valley as a natural passageway through the harsh terrain, showcasing the enduring connection between humanity and the landscape. Take a moment to reflect on the stories these rivers tell and consider how they shape our understanding of the world around us. Fish migrations once provided sustenance, allowing food to be smoked and stored for future use. Driftwood, carried from distant upstream sources, served as vital fuel, even in regions lacking trees. As the climate shifts and glaciers recede, the river continues to bury the remnants of these ancient journeys beneath layers of sediment. Today, as permafrost melts and riverbanks erode, delicate artifacts occasionally emerge, having rested for thousands of years. Each discovery enriches our understanding of how early humans traversed vast landscapes, guided by the steady flow of water. Some rivers traverse multiple climate zones without altering their essence. A single waterway may start as a cold trickle, nourished by melting snow. It can then transform into a roaring torrent through pine forests, glide peacefully across sunlit grasslands, and meander into humid lowlands adorned with broadleaf trees. Along this journey, the scenery changes dramatically, yet the river's identity remains constant. Its waters carry minerals from every environment it encounters, merging mountain stone with prairie soil and forest humus. Animals along one stretch of the river may never meet those living downstream, but they all share a profound connection, relying on the same lifeline. This intricate web of life highlights the river's essential role in the ecosystem. As you reflect on these natural wonders, consider the stories held within the currents and the connections they foster. You are invited to explore further or simply rest in the beauty of this narrative. Imagine a world where migratory fish embark on an incredible journey, navigating through diverse climates linked by a winding corridor. For plants, the seasonal floods of these rivers bring a unique blend of sediments gathered from various landscapes. These waterways act like threads, weaving together separate ecological realms into a continuous chain of habitats that would otherwise remain isolated. As these rivers traverse different climates, they maintain their continuity, shaping ecosystems across vast distances. However, the shifting paths of these rivers can also ignite significant historical conflicts. In many regions, political boundaries hinge on the precise location of a river, making its course a matter of great importance. Yet the flow of water is never constant. Over the years, erosion and deposition alter the landscape, with currents carving deeper channels on one side while building new ground on the other. A sudden flood can dramatically change everything, redirecting the river's course overnight and cutting through orchards, villages, or open fields. When a river serves as the boundary between two territories, such changes can spark disputes. One side may assert that the new course has taken land that has belonged to them for generations. Meanwhile, the other side might argue that the river itself defines the true boundary, regardless of where it now flows. As you reflect on the ever-changing nature of these waterways, consider how they shape not just the landscape, but the lives and histories intertwined with their paths. Maps often lose their relevance, treaties become unclear, and tensions escalate as farmland, resources, and settlements shift unpredictably. Many of these disputes have persisted for decades, driven by a landscape that refuses to remain static under the relentless flow of water. Nutrient-rich rivers nourish forests that extend well beyond their banks. High in the mountains, rain loosens soil from ridges and slopes. Streams gather these particles, carrying them into broader channels that eventually overflow into surrounding floodplains. When the waters recede, they leave behind thin layers of silt, rich in minerals and organic fragments. Trees draw from this renewed soil, growing taller and denser than they would in ordinary conditions. Seasonal floods transport drifting seeds that germinate in this enriched ground, fostering new layers of biodiversity. In certain areas, migrating fish return from the ocean, filled with nutrients gathered during their journey at sea. After spawning, their bodies release marine elements into river systems, and these nutrients gradually permeate forests, far from the water. As you listen, imagine the animals feeding along the riverbanks, carrying nutrients inward and leaving traces of their journey. Over time, the river's reach extends well beyond its banks, enriching entire landscapes with materials gathered from distant mountains and seas. The Paruna once surged with such power that it created new islands across the vast floodplains of South America. This mighty river has transported enormous quantities of sand, clay, and organic debris from highland valleys. When intense rainfall occurs, the river expands, spreading across wide areas and losing speed in certain stretches. In these calmer sections, the current can no longer support its full load, allowing sediment to settle and accumulate in quiet pockets. With the passage of many seasons, these deposits thicken, gradually breaking the surface. grasses are the first to sprout, anchoring the fragile ground. Eventually, shrubs and young trees take root, inviting birds and insects that start weaving the initial threads of a new ecosystem. The river's channels begin to shift, splitting into braided passages that embrace the emerging island in flowing water. Some of these islands may grow stable enough to support lush forests. As you reflect on this natural transformation, consider the delicate balance of life that unfolds along the river. Would you like to continue exploring this vibrant world, or perhaps take a moment to rest and absorb what you've learned? You observe how others migrate, influenced by a river that reshapes its surroundings, grain by grain. What appears to be permanent land in this area is actually a testament to the river's ongoing transformation of its own landscape. The sediments carried by the river encapsulate atmospheres from ages long gone. As raindrops descend, they absorb gases from the air, creating a unique chemical signature that reflects the atmosphere at that moment. When these droplets strike the soil and rock, they lift microscopic particles which hold clues about local vegetation, weather patterns, and even distant volcanic activity. Streams gather this mixture, transporting it into broader channels where it settles as fine layers of mud and sand. Over centuries, these layers accumulate like pages in a book, each telling a part of a larger story. Scientists can extract cores from ancient floodplains, revealing the history preserved within. The ratios of certain elements provide insights into shifts in temperature, rainfall, and vegetation. Tiny shells crafted by microscopic organisms capture changes in the water's chemistry. Even the shape of pollen grains trapped in these layers indicates which plants thrived or struggled over time. Through these small fragments, a river preserves narratives about the air that once filled the sky. It offers a unique opportunity to reconstruct climates long before humans began to measure them. As you reflect on this, you may feel a deeper connection to the world around you, inviting you to continue exploring or to take a moment to rest in this knowledge. The Amazon creates a vast, invisible river of vapor that flows across an entire continent. From the dense green canopy, moisture rises in such abundance that it behaves like a hidden waterway in the sky. Each tree contributes tiny droplets through its leaves, and the collective effort of millions of trees forms a steady column of vapor that drifts through the atmosphere. Winds carry this moisture westward, transporting it far from the rainforest into arid inland areas that rely on it for their rainfall. Meteorologists have traced these corridors of humidity, discovering that their influence extends to towering mountain ranges. Here, the cooler air condenses and releases this moisture as rain or snow. Farmers, forests, and entire ecosystems depend on this airborne stream to endure seasonal droughts. When storms develop in distant regions, their intensity and timing often reflect the hidden presence of this traveling vapor. It serves as a bridge between different climates, connecting humid lowlands with high plateaus in a cycle fueled by the gentle breath of countless leaves below. Some river mouths even form underwater fans that are larger than entire nations. Take a moment to reflect on the intricate connections of nature and how they sustain life. You might find it fascinating to continue exploring this delicate balance, or simply take a pause to appreciate it. As powerful currents make their way to the open sea, they begin to slow down, releasing vast amounts of sediment that have traveled from far inland. Sand, silt, and clay drift downward in thick clouds, eventually settling on the sea floor. Over time, these deposits spread outward, forming underwater fans that can extend for great distances. These submerged landscapes are sculpted by hidden currents that flow along the ocean floor, carving channels that mirror the patterns found in river deltas. Marine life flourishes on these new surfaces, drawing nutrients washed down from the continent. The accumulation of these structures can significantly alter ocean circulation, influence fish migration routes, and even impact local climates. In certain areas, underwater canyons cut through these deposits, directing deep water currents that carry cold, nutrient-rich flows up to the surface. What may seem like a flat, featureless expanse from above often hides a complex and dynamic world, shaped by silt drifting down from rivers that could be hundreds of miles away. This ancient river system holds a rich tapestry of human history within layer after layer of floodplain soil. Each time the river overflowed its banks in the past, it left behind another thin sheet of fertile earth, marking the passage of time and the stories of those who have come before. Imagine a world where layers of history lie beneath your feet. Within these layers, you find remnants of broken pots, stone flakes, seeds, and pollen, alongside the faint traces of fires once lit by early communities. As you explore, you realize that archaeologists can delve into these deposits, revealing vivid scenes from lives long gone. Some layers tell the story of early farmers who nurtured wheat and barley along narrow strips of moisture, while others hold the bones of wild creatures that roamed the valley before cities emerged. The soil itself becomes a storyteller, reflecting the changing fortunes of the land, some layers revealing years of abundant floods, while others hint at the droughts that tested the resilience of those who depended on the harvest. Each accumulation of earth is a quiet chapter in the long tale of cultures that thrived on predictable cycles for survival. By examining the ground beneath you, researchers uncover the origins of beliefs, rituals, and technologies shaped by a river that provided food, transport, and stability across generations. Think of the rivers that carve through dark caverns, where surface streams vanish into narrow cracks, entering a realm of complete darkness. Picture towering halls with walls that echo the sound of rushing water, chambers that have never felt the warmth of daylight. This hidden world invites you to reflect and discover the mysteries it holds. Minerals dissolved in flowing water create intricate patterns on stone, forming curtains, spirals, and a polished sheen that captures the essence of time. Blind fish navigate these shadowy corridors through touch and vibration. Meanwhile, crickets and tiny beetles scavenge among damp rocks, living their entire lives without ever feeling the warmth of the sun. These caverns expand as water gradually erodes the bedrock, grain by grain, causing collapses that give rise to hidden waterfalls cascading into underground pools. Explorers who brave these passages often discover multiple levels stacked above and below one another, each carved during different eras of rainfall and climate. These labyrinths remind you that rivers have the power to shape both visible and hidden worlds, each inhabited by its own quiet residents. The Congo River boasts rapids fierce enough to split species over time. In Central Africa, a series of swift cascades forms a natural barrier like no other on the continent. Fish journeying upstream encounter swirling currents, sudden drops, and narrow channels where water surges with tremendous force. Over the course of history, these challenges have isolated populations into distinct pockets. As you reflect on these hidden realms, consider the lives that thrive in darkness, the stories etched in stone, and the continuous dance of nature that shapes our world. Would you like to delve deeper into these mysteries, or perhaps take a moment to pause and absorb the wonder around you? Without contact, each group of aquatic life adapts uniquely to its environment. Some develop new body shapes that help them cling to rocks, while others evolve sensory organs finely tuned to the vibrations of turbulent waters. Genetic studies uncover patterns of divergence that align closely with the arrangement of these rapids. The water drives this evolutionary process by restricting movement and shaping the conditions necessary for survival. Even species that seem nearly identical downstream reveal surprising differences when found above the turbulent zones. These conditions illustrate how a river's physical characteristics can guide evolution, transforming narrow stretches of fast water into engines of biological change. Some rivers are older than the mountains they traverse. Long before towering peaks reached for the sky, these rivers wound across expansive plains, stretching far beyond the horizon. As tectonic forces pushed the land upward, the existing river channels continued to cut downward at a steady pace, refusing to be diverted. The mountains rose around them, leaving behind deep gorges that slice through ridges. These canyons expose ancient rock layers that predate the rivers themselves. Take a moment to reflect on this remarkable interplay between water and land. How do you think these natural forces shape the life around us? The waterways endure, their flow strong and steady enough to outpace the uplift of the land. When you stand in these majestic gorges, you witness the remarkable struggle between land and water. Sheer cliffs rise on either side, while the river continues its quiet journey, a journey that has unfolded for millions of years. By following these paths, geologists can piece together the timing and speed of mountain formation. The landscapes reveal a truth. Even the mightiest peaks cannot always divert a river from its course. The Danube, in particular, has acted as a cultural highway for thousands of years. Communities along this extensive European waterway have exchanged ideas, goods, and stories since the dawn of prehistory. Long before roads connected distant regions, boats transported pottery, amber, metal, and grain along its waters. Ancient settlements flourished on its banks, drawn by the river's promise of food, transport, and fertile land. Empires used the Danube as both a frontier and a lifeline, sending messages and soldiers along its steady flow. Monasteries, forts, and trading towns emerged wherever the landscape provided safe harbors. As travelers followed the current, languages blended, beliefs crossed borders, and culinary traditions intertwined. This river has not only shaped the land, but has also woven together the fabric of countless communities. Today, the river connects many nations and plays a vital role in the cultural identity of the region. It demonstrates how flowing water can unite diverse peoples into a single corridor, sharing knowledge and influence between places that might have otherwise remained strangers. Few waterways have shaped as many societies for as long as this extraordinary path across the continent. In winter, river ice carves out valleys through slow, persistent pressure. In colder climates, water freezes layer by layer until the channel transforms into a solid mass, shifting its weight against the banks. As temperatures fluctuate, cracks form and fill with meltwater, which expands again when the cold returns. This ongoing cycle gradually pries rocks apart and weakens the soil surrounding them. During the spring thaw, the loosened material breaks free and slips into the current. Over countless winters, this gentle process widens valleys and deepens channels, all without the chaotic force of a flood. In some areas, massive slabs of ice grind downstream, scraping the riverbed like moving stones. They carry boulders, carve grooves, and shatter smaller rocks that lie in their path. As you reflect on this, consider the river's quiet power and the stories it carries. Would you like to explore more about its impact, or perhaps take a moment to appreciate the stillness around you. Researchers studying these natural patterns observe the marks left on striated surfaces and scattered debris. While ice may appear still and silent, its constant advance and retreat subtly reshape entire landscapes, often going unnoticed from season to season. The Myeong River creates a yearly flood pulse that nourishes millions. Each year, seasonal rains in distant mountains swell this river, transforming it into an immense inland sea. As the waters rise, fish migrate into flooded forests, where they feast on fruits, insects, and fallen leaves. Farmers, fishers, and foragers align their activities with this cyclical rhythm. Rice fields turn into nutrient-rich lakes, yielding abundant harvests once the water recedes. Villages adapt their architecture to this pattern, constructing homes on stilts, allowing families to dwell above the rising currents. When the floodwaters withdraw, they leave behind dark, fertile soil that supports crops capable of sustaining entire regions. Markets brim with fish caught during the peak season, and the floodplain becomes a vibrant center of activity. This annual ebb and flow of the landscape intricately weaves together ecological and human systems into one interconnected pattern. The pulse of the river shapes its surroundings, weaving together traditions, livelihoods, and ecosystems in a cycle as ancient as the water itself. Some rivers are so clear that sunlight reaches their beds without interruption. In rare locations where erosion is gentle and the soil holds few loose particles, water flows smoothly over stone and sand, carrying away minimal sediment. The result is breathtaking clarity, revealing every pebble and ripple below the surface. Fish glide through the current, appearing almost weightless. Plants anchored to the riverbed sway gently, their vibrant colors glowing beneath the water. When sunlight strikes the channel, it penetrates deep, illuminating rocks and hidden crevices. This extraordinary clarity supports unique ecosystems that rely on clean light to flourish. The water remains cool and rich in oxygen, creating perfect conditions for sensitive species that struggle to survive in murky waters. As you stand on bridges or riverbanks, you can witness the entire aquatic world unfold beneath you, from tiny insects clinging to submerged stones to the graceful shadows of larger creatures moving through deeper pools. Each moment invites you to explore the wonders below. Rivers unveil the serene beauty of water in its most authentic form. Wind-sculpted dunes traverse deserts, born from sand carried by rivers. Grains originating from distant mountains embark on a journey through swift-moving channels that erode rock into finer fragments. As floods recede and currents calm, these particles settle along riverbanks, pausing for their next adventure. With time, the wind lifts the lightest pieces, sending them soaring into the vast deserts. Each grain dances in small arcs, carried by gusts, and gently deposited a short distance away. This repetitive motion allows countless fragments to accumulate, forming rising slopes that evolve into dunes. The steep sides grow and shift slowly, pushing entire ridges forward. Some advance just a few feet each year, while others glide across the landscape at surprising speeds. Plants and animals adapt to these shifting structures, seeking refuge in the hollows and ridges. Satellite images reveal the long trails of dunes, tracing the unseen paths of the winds that shape them. What begins as river sediment can ultimately transform into a dynamic architecture crafted entirely by the air. As you contemplate this process, consider the intricate dance of nature and how it continually reshapes our world. Would you like to explore more about these fascinating transformations? The river's course has shifted many times throughout history. Settlements along this waterway have relied on its steady flow for transport and trade. Yet the river itself has never stayed the same. Natural changes in its path have altered shorelines, flooded fields, and created new islands over generations. As towns grew, efforts to control the river became more ambitious. Engineers carved artificial channels to prevent flooding, drained marshes to create farmland, and built embankments to guide the current into a straighter path. Old bends transformed into quiet oxbow lakes, while former tributaries dried up to become meadows. Maps from various centuries reveal the river in strikingly different forms, each era leaving its unique imprint. These transformations have impacted fisheries, travel routes, and local economies. Even now, the river continues to adapt to climate patterns, rainfall, and the gradual accumulation of sediment. The landscape along its banks tells a story of a long partnership between people and flowing water, shaped by both natural forces and human efforts over many centuries. Imagine swifts carrying upright trees as if they were elegant statues. During powerful storms, currents surge with such force that they uproot dead trees from riverbanks. Instead of collapsing, some trees remain anchored in thick clumps of soil, drifting into the water. Their broad bases act like keels, keeping them upright as they glide downstream. This sight can be quite surprising. A whole trunk moves along, branches reaching skyward as if walking on water. These floating pillars journey long distances before eventually tipping over or breaking apart. Along their path, they provide temporary shelters for fish, turtles, and insects that gather in the cool shade. Birds occasionally land on the drifting branches, using them as resting spots between flights. When these trees finally come to rest against rocks or settle in shallow areas, they change the flow of currents and create new habitats that endure for years. What begins as the chaotic aftermath of floodwaters transforms into a moment of unexpected beauty, with entire trunks drifting like living sculptures. The Mississippi River, in its relentless journey, has shaped entire regions through its constant sediment flow. As it traverses the continent, it collects mineral grains and organic fragments from countless tributaries. Take a moment to reflect on this intricate dance of nature, where destruction gives way to new life. Would you like to continue exploring this fascinating world? Or perhaps take a moment to pause? Every flood season, the river spreads across the land, carrying its load toward the sea. As the current slows near the coast, much of this material settles into thick layers that gradually rise above the water. Over centuries, these deposits transform into plains that nurture farms, forests, towns, and marshes. Channels shift across this ever-expanding surface, abandoning old paths and carving new ones. Some areas, now considered stable ground, once lay beneath shallow waters. The vegetation that colonizes these deposits stabilizes the soil, allowing new layers of sediment to build even higher. This process unfolds year after year, creating land that expands outward like the branches of a tree. The scale of this natural construction is immense. An entire region owes its existence to the quiet work of water, transporting the remains of distant mountains and fertile soil from far upstream. Hidden within the Amazon, hot rivers approach boiling temperatures. Deep in the forest, stretches of water emit steam, even on cool mornings. These unusual channels are not heated by magma, but by underground springs that release intensely hot water into the main flow. Take a moment to reflect on this intricate dance of nature, where water shapes the land and life flourishes in its embrace. You are invited to continue exploring or simply to rest in this wonder. As the stream flows through its basin, the temperatures remain astonishingly high, creating a unique environment where few animals can survive. Leaves that fall into the water are quickly cooked, and small creatures that accidentally tumble and perish almost instantly. Yet, along the edges where the heat begins to fade, specialized plants and microorganisms thrive. The source of this warmth lies deep within the geological layers, where groundwater travels through heated rock before emerging at the surface. Local communities have long recognized these waters, holding them in a mix of respect and caution. Scientists who study these areas gain valuable insights into the interactions between groundwater, geothermal energy, and the hydrology of the rainforest. In one of the most remote regions of the world, the terrace riverbanks record climate shifts over deep time. In many valleys, steep steps rise along the edges of a channel, with each level marking a former floodplain once carved by the river as it flowed at different heights. Over thousands of years, variations in climate have altered rainfall patterns and affected the strength of the river's flow. During wet periods, the river carves downward with increased force, leaving older terraces stranded above the new channel. Consider the delicate balance of this ecosystem. Isn't it fascinating how nature adapts and evolves? Take a moment to appreciate the intricate relationships at play. You might find that there's much more to discover. If you feel inspired, continue exploring, or simply take a moment to reflect. As you listen, imagine a time when rivers flowed more gently, their currents spreading across vast surfaces. During drier periods, these waterways slowed, creating layers of silt that tell stories of the past. Each layer holds secrets about the vegetation, temperatures, and rainfall of the eras in which they formed. Fossils, pollen grains, and ancient soils embedded within these terraces reveal intricate details about ecosystems long gone. By examining these layered shelves, researchers piece together a narrative of environmental changes over time, uncovering how rivers adapted to shifting climates. Each terrace serves as a silent witness to a world once thriving at different heights along the valley walls. Consider the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which nurtured irrigation systems that were advanced for their time. In the fertile floodplains of ancient Mesopotamia, early civilizations ingeniously constructed canals, directing water to fields far removed from the main river channels. These intricate networks enabled crops to flourish, even in seasons when rain was scarce. Farmers skillfully built mud embankments, adjusting their dimensions to regulate the water flow to each plot. Gatekeepers oversaw this delicate balance, employing simple yet effective tools made from wood and stone. The success of these irrigation systems was crucial, nourishing entire cities and allowing markets, temples, and written records to flourish. Take a moment to reflect on the remarkable ingenuity of these ancient societies and the vital role water played in shaping their world. If you feel inspired, continue exploring this rich history, or take a moment to rest in the beauty of nature's stories. As river courses shift over time, remnants of ancient canals remain etched in the landscape, their patterns still visible in satellite images today. The intricate designs of these irrigation systems reveal the profound understanding early cultures had of their environment. Without their knowledge of seasonal rhythms and soil behavior, the region would never have been able to sustain the thriving populations that once flourished between these two rivers. Mineral-rich rivers give rise to travertine waterfalls, growing taller each year. As water flows through limestone regions, it dissolves minerals that linger until the current cascades over a ledge or tumbles down a cliff. In this descent, carbon dioxide escapes, leaving behind thin films of calcite. Layer by layer, these films solidify into travertine, a pale stone that forms terraces, ridges, and striking steps. Over time, the buildup becomes so substantial that waterfalls rise above their original foundations. And behind these stone curtains, pools of clear water develop, mirroring the surrounding vegetation. Microbial communities thrive on the fresh deposits, subtly influencing the shapes of these formations and adding intricate textures. As you stand near these cascading waters, you witness the dance of living geology. Each new sheet of mineral extends ever so slowly, pushing the edge forward. These remarkable formations reveal that rivers do more than carve landscapes. They also create entirely new structures from the dissolved rock around them. Once, the Volga River sustained nomadic kingdoms that roamed the expansive steppes, stretching across the sweeping grasslands of Eurasia. This river served as a reliable corridor, offering herders fresh grazing grounds and access to fish. Communities moved in harmony with the seasons, following the natural rhythm of water and pasture. Camps sprang up along the banks, where horses quenched their thirst and families exchanged goods with travelers passing through. Archaeological discoveries have unveiled traces of metalwork, pottery, and textile production that thrived in these mobile societies. The river facilitated trade and negotiation among distant tribes, connecting territories that might have remained isolated otherwise. Seasonal floodplains provided fertile ground for temporary cultivation, yielding grains that supplemented their pastoral lifestyles. As groups gathered near the water, stories and traditions flowed between them. Though many of these kingdoms have faded into history, the echoes of their presence linger beneath the soil, preserved in burial mounds and scattered artifacts. As you reflect on this rich tapestry of life, you can almost feel the connections that once thrived here. Perhaps you'll take a moment to consider the stories yet to be told. The river serves as a vital connection for cultures that navigate the vast open landscape. Beneath its surface, some rivers cradle entire forests, preserving fossilized logs in their depths. When powerful floods surge, they uproot trees, burying the trunks under thick layers of silt and sand. In mineral-rich environments, these hidden remnants undergo a gradual transformation. Groundwater moves through the sediments, carrying dissolved elements that replace the organic material in the wood. Over time, the structure of the tree becomes stone, while retaining its original shape and texture. Some of these trunks emerge with striking patterns of quartz or iron, creating vibrant fossils that tell stories of species that thrived thousands, even millions of years ago. As riverbeds shift or erode, these petrified logs reveal themselves along cliffs, gravel bars, or exposed banks, offering glimpses into ancient ecosystems. Their presence aids scientists in understanding how landscapes have evolved and what types of forests once blanketed the region. The quiet process of sediment and mineral-rich water transforms entire stands of fallen timber into lasting geological narratives. As you reflect on this, consider the stories hidden within the stones and the connection they provide to a time long past. Would you like to explore more about these ancient landscapes, or perhaps take a moment to rest with this knowledge? The Ganges nourishes a unique web of rare species found nowhere else on Earth. As you explore northern India, you'll discover how this river sustains a vibrant tapestry of life, intricately woven from creatures that rely on its ever-changing currents, deep pools, and fertile floodplains. Along the banks, freshwater turtles nest on sandy bars, where the sun's warmth aids in the maturation of their eggs. In quieter stretches, a small species of shark ventures upstream, hunting in brackish channels where fresh and salt water blend. Soft-shelled turtles patiently bury themselves in the mud, waiting for passing prey. Certain fish species have adapted remarkable behaviors to navigate the fast-moving waters, rising and sinking in rhythmic patterns dictated by the river's seasonal pulse. Among the most extraordinary residents are the river dolphins, which use sound to navigate and thrive in the deep, swirling waters where visibility fades to a blue-gray haze. On the edges, wetland plants stabilize the soil, while cranes, storks, and herons gather in vast flocks during migration. The incredible diversity of life supported by this single waterway creates an ecosystem unlike any other, shaped by centuries of changing monsoon patterns and the constant flow of fresh water that unites these species in harmony. Take a moment to reflect on this intricate balance of life. You might find it inspires a deeper appreciation for the natural world around you. Storm surges can push rivers backward, defying their natural flow. When strong winds sweep across coastal waters, they pile enormous amounts of seawater into river mouths. As the ocean rises, this incoming surge forces the river to retreat, reversing its usual course. Fish that are used to steady freshwater suddenly find themselves facing briny conditions rushing upstream. In the turbulence, modern sand shifts, reshaping channels and banks. Boats tied along the shore may swing in the opposite direction as the backward current gains strength. In extreme cases, water can surge far inland, carrying marine creatures into areas where they are rarely seen. Once the winds ease and the ocean settles, the river eventually resumes its natural direction. However, the landscape often bears the marks of this temporary reversal. You might find deposits of seaweed or shells lingering on floodplains. Channels may deepen or widen after such unusual pressure. These episodes illustrate the powerful influence of coastal storms and the delicate balance between land and sea that rivers navigate on their journey to their final destination. They hold traces of glacial lakes that once covered Siberia. During the last great ice ages, massive walls of ice dammed valleys and trapped meltwater in enormous basins. The story of these natural forces is both captivating and reflective, inviting you to consider the intricate dance between water and land. As the climate warms and glaciers retreat, lakes overflow, creating catastrophic floods that carve deep scars into the land. Along this long northern river, scientists uncover remnants of these ancient events, preserved in gravel bars, terraces, and buried sediments. The distribution of certain stones reveals where powerful flows once swept through, transporting materials from places that now lie far upstream. Layers of fine silt record the quiet periods when vast lakes stood still, reflecting the pale sky for centuries before draining. Fossilized pollen in the sediments indicates which plants survived the cold and which arrived later as the climate eased. By studying these deposits, researchers reconstruct the incredible transformations that have shaped Siberia long before the advent of written records. The river acts as a natural archive, capturing the shifting ice, ancient shorelines, and immense forces that once dominated the northern world. Floodplains store carbon in layers that outlast civilizations. Each time rising water spills over the riverbank, it spreads a thin layer of mud and organic matter across the land. Dead leaves, broken reeds, and microscopic fragments of plant tissue settle into the wet soil, continuing the cycle of life in this dynamic landscape. Over countless seasons, materials accumulate in deep layers, capturing carbon drawn from the atmosphere by earlier generations of plants. In the low oxygen conditions beneath the surface, decomposition slows significantly. As new layers form above, the older ones become sealed away, preserving carbon that might otherwise return to the air. Over centuries, this gradual burial creates rich, dark soils that hold the memories of ancient forests and long-lost wetlands. These deposits play a subtle but vital role in regulating the global climate, acting as reservoirs that balance the exchange of gases between the land and the sky. Archaeologists often discover traces of early farming communities hidden within these layers. Remarkably, the carbon beneath them may have remained undisturbed since long before those societies emerged. The Colorado River has carved canyons that reveal nearly half of the planet's geological history. In the southwestern United States, this river winds through rock formations that preserve an astonishing timeline of our Earth. Layer upon layer of stone rises above the channel, each band representing an era when ancient seas advanced and retreated. Take a moment to reflect on the stories held within these layers. What do they reveal about our past? As you consider this, feel free to continue exploring or take a moment to rest and absorb the wonder of it all. Deserts emerge and disappear, while mountains rise, only to be eroded over time. The river weaves through this expansive stone library, carving its path over millions of years. The towering walls reveal a spectrum of colors, shifting from soft cream to deep rust. Fossils of ancient marine life peek through some layers, reminding you of a time when this land was once submerged in warm, shallow seas. In other layers, ripple marks tell the story of winds that sculpted a long-forgotten landscape. As geologists study these layers, they uncover nearly half of Earth's history. The river continues its patient journey, cutting through rock grain by grain, unveiling fresh glimpses of our planet's ancient past with each passing season. Yet, in moments of stillness, the river becomes a mirror for the night sky. When the currents calm and the surface smooths into a dark, glassy sheet, it reflects the stars with breathtaking clarity. The banks, lined with trees, fade into shadow, while constellations dance upon the water. The sky seems to double, creating a profound sense of depth that blurs the line between Earth and the heavens above. Fireflies drift along the shore, appearing like sparks dancing between two worlds. Animals pause at the water's edge, seemingly suspended in the mirrored landscape. These enchanting scenes often unfold on cool nights, when the air settles and the day's heat no longer disturbs the surface. In this stillness, even the faintest stars, usually hidden by city lights, become visible. This serene phenomenon offers a rare perspective on the universe above you. A simple river transforms into a natural observatory, where the longest channel becomes a pathway of reflected starlight, stretching far beyond what you can see. The Orinoco River connects vast basins through a seasonal channel. During the wet season, heavy rains across northern South America raise water levels, creating a natural passage between two major river systems. Fish that typically inhabit separate regions venture through this temporary corridor, exploring new feeding grounds and expanding their range. Birds follow the floodwaters, hunting in the newly formed wetlands. Plants that thrive in fluctuating water levels flourish in this connection zone, crafting a mosaic of floating vegetation, shallow pools, and submerged forests. As you contemplate this delicate balance of life, consider the interconnectedness of nature and how it invites you to pause and appreciate the wonders around you. You might find it comforting to reflect on these moments, or perhaps you feel inspired to continue exploring the beauty of the natural world. As the flood season draws to a close, the river channels close off, and the waters retreat to their usual banks. Yet the impact of this connection lingers in the air. Species that have successfully crossed these waters may find new homes, enriching the diversity of their ecosystems. You might wonder how scientists studying these seasonal links uncover the ways water weaves vast landscapes into a single living tapestry. This passage appears briefly each year, but it possesses the remarkable ability to unite two massive basins into one flowing network. Some rivers, during times of rising water, create their own natural levees. As floods surge across the land, the currents deposit heavier sediments near the banks. Over the seasons, these grains build up into low ridges, growing taller with each flood. Eventually, these raised edges help to contain the river, forming natural barriers that dictate the water's journey. Within these levees, finer particles settle further from the channel, nurturing fertile soils that support both agriculture and wild vegetation. The elevated banks play a crucial role in shaping future flood patterns, guiding the flow into specific areas. When the river swells once more, it may breach weak points or carve new paths, redirecting its channels in unexpected ways. Take a moment to reflect on the intricate dance of water and land, and consider how this natural cycle influences the world around you. You are invited to continue exploring or to pause and absorb the beauty of this process. These natural structures arise without any human intervention, formed solely by the persistent flow of silt during high water. They reveal how rivers sculpt their own landscapes and highlight the fragile balance between rising waters and the surrounding land. The Zambezi River creates rainbows that linger in its mist for days on end. Near a renowned waterfall along this river, towering sheets of water plunge into a gorge, bursting into clouds of mist that soar above the nearby forest. When sunlight hits the suspended droplets, vibrant arcs of color emerge, sometimes remaining visible for hours. On certain mornings, when the air is thick with moisture, these colors shimmer continuously, shifting with the sun's angle. Visitors at strategic viewpoints often see multiple arcs forming one above another, as layers of mist refract the light. This stunning display can endure long after the thunderous sound of the falls fades away. At night, the moon's glow can create delicate bands of light known as lunar rainbows, a rare and enchanting sight. The unique combination of powerful water, deep gorges, and favorable weather patterns makes this location one of the few where rainbows can linger for such extended periods, crafting a scene that feels almost dreamlike. Imagine a world where underwater waterfalls exist, formed by heavy rivers sinking beneath lighter ones. In certain oceanic regions, dense currents, rich in salt, flow alongside or beneath lighter freshwater streams. As this heavier water advances, it plunges downward in dramatic cascades that mimic hidden waterfalls beneath the surface. These submerged flows can stretch for remarkable distances, influencing the movement of marine life and the distribution of nutrients. Cold, dense streams slide under warmer layers, carrying essential oxygen into deep areas that would otherwise remain stagnant. The interaction of these layers creates swirling patterns, generating underwater eddies that dance through the depths. Scientists venture into this mysterious realm, utilizing instruments that track changes in temperature and salinity as they explore. These currents carve paths along the ocean floor, shaping ridges and valleys, much like rivers sculpt the land above. They reveal the existence of unseen rivers flowing silently beneath the waves, guided by the forces of gravity and density. Long ago, early astronomers relied on the behavior of rivers as natural celestial calendars. Before the advent of stone observatories and written charts, communities observed rivers to decode the movements of the sky. As you reflect on these hidden wonders, Consider the intricate connections between water and life, and how each current tells a story of its own. Would you like to dive deeper into this fascinating world? Or perhaps take a moment to rest and ponder? Water levels shift with the seasons, often in harmony with the emergence of specific constellations or the ascent of certain stars. Floods, low flows, and even subtle changes in clarity serve as signs for the transition of the year. People construct markers along the banks, comparing heights from one season to the next. These markers become vital tools for measuring time. Priests and sky watchers learn to link particular water patterns with lunar cycles and the variations in daylight. In some areas, the night sky reflects on tranquil surfaces, creating a mirrored map that assists early observers in tracking the movements of planets and stars. The river's predictable rhythm provides a steady reference against the ever-changing heavens. Over generations, these observations influence agricultural calendars, festival dates, and navigation routes. The gentle rise and fall of flowing water becomes the first guide for understanding how the sky signals the passage of seasons. In the far north, where winter blankets the land in deep cold, the Lena River sculpts frozen pillars that stand like natural cathedrals. This river shapes some of the most dramatic formations on the continent, showcasing the profound connection between water and the rhythms of time. You find yourself in a breathtaking landscape where towering cliffs rise majestically above the water. These natural pillars, shaped by the relentless forces of frost, wind, and flowing currents, stand as long rows of stone spires. Each spire is separated by narrow gaps, forming walls and arches that are truly unique in the world. During warmer days, melting ice seeps into the cracks of these cliffs and refreezes at night, gradually prying the rock apart. Over countless years, entire columns emerge from the eroded cliffs, their shadows gathering snow, while migrating birds find refuge on ledges that overlook the vast frozen expanse below. The river, ever-changing, continues to carve the base of these magnificent structures, creating channels that capture the pale light of the brief northern days. When fog rolls across the water, these pillars rise like ghostly towers, evoking a sense of mystery. They offer a glimpse into the slow, intricate collaboration between ice, stone, and moving water that has sculpted this landscape into a cathedral-like form. Some rivers carry magnetic clues that hint at shifts in Earth's poles. As water erodes rocks upstream, it picks up tiny grains of minerals containing magnetic particles aligned with the direction of Earth's magnetic field at the time they formed. These grains journey downstream, settling into layers of mud and sand, telling a story of the planet's dynamic history. As you take in this awe-inspiring scene, consider how nature's artistry unfolds over time, creating a world that invites reflection and wonder. You may find a soft urge to continue exploring, or perhaps simply to rest in this moment of beauty. As layers of sediment settle over time, the mineral particles become locked in their original orientation. By extracting cores from floodplains or ancient riverbeds, you can uncover the magnetic direction recorded in each layer. Some strata reveal orientations that differ significantly from today's readings, indicating periods when Earth's magnetic field shifted or weakened. These unique signatures help reconstruct the history of geomagnetic reversals and the long-term behavior of our planet's core. Furthermore, they allow researchers to trace how rivers have responded to these global changes, providing insight into the climate and environmental conditions of ancient eras. The gradual accumulation of sediment transforms into a record of the restless currents beneath the Earth's surface. Consider the Salwine River, which flows through landscapes largely untouched by major human engineering. In remote regions of Southeast Asia, this winding river carves its path through majestic mountains and valleys that remain remarkably wild. Its steep cliffs tower above narrow gorges where the current rushes through pristine forests. Along its banks, you find small villages constructed from local materials, leaving only subtle marks on the surrounding land. Isn't it fascinating how these natural wonders coexist with the history written in the earth itself? Take a moment to reflect on the stories hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. The absence of large dams and major diversions allows the river to flow naturally, adapting to seasonal rains and dry months. Fish species that depend on free-flowing water continue to migrate through its channels. The floodplains breathe in harmony with the rhythm of rising and falling water levels, a dance that has shaped them for generations. As monsoon clouds gather along the mountain sides, they unleash torrents into tributaries, which eagerly rush to join the main channel. Because much of the basin remains untouched by modern infrastructure, scientists consider it a rare example of a major river system that operates much as it did before extensive human development. Estuaries create nurseries for species that will eventually populate vast oceans. Here, where fresh water mingles with salt water, a unique environment emerges, supporting life in extraordinary ways. Shallow channels, mudflats, and tidal marshes offer refuge for young fish that might struggle to survive in deeper waters. Nutrients carried by the river blend with minerals stirred up by incoming tides, forming a rich broth that promotes rapid growth. Crabs scuttle across the soft sediment, feeding on microscopic organisms that thrive in this nutrient-rich mix. This ecosystem, vibrant and interconnected, invites you to reflect on the beauty of nature's design and the importance of preserving such habitats. As you consider this, take a moment to appreciate the delicate balance that sustains life in these waters. Birds gather in large numbers to hunt among the tidal pools. Many species rely on these transitional waters during the early stages of their lives, using them as safe havens to gain strength and size before venturing into the vast ocean. Some creatures return years later to reproduce in the very same protected inlets where they once thrived as juveniles. These nurseries play a crucial role in supporting global food webs, ensuring that young marine animals have safe spaces to grow. Without these vital areas, many oceanic populations would face dramatic declines. The Dnieper River once connected forest kingdoms to southern empires. In ancient times, this river flowed through regions where cultures varied in language, customs, and ways of life. Traders followed its current from northern woodlands to southern plains, transporting furs, honey, metal goods, and crafted tools. Boats, carved from single logs, drifted past settlements perched on high bluffs, stopping at bustling markets where goods exchanged hands. As navigation improved, larger vessels began to carry caravans of merchants who traveled between distant realms. The river evolved into a vital route, linking forest dwellers with powerful states near the Black Sea. Along its banks, fortified towns emerged to safeguard valuable trade. Take a moment to reflect on the connections we share with these natural and historical landscapes. Would you like to continue exploring, or pause to let the imagery settle? Chronicles from early travelers recount fascinating encounters between diverse peoples at river crossings, where alliances and agreements were forged. The waterways have played a vital role in shaping political boundaries and cultural identities over time. They serve as lifelines, connecting distant societies and creating a unified economic and cultural network. Imagine fish navigating these expansive rivers, relying solely on their sense of smell. Certain species possess an extraordinary ability to detect faint chemical traces in the water, As juveniles, they absorb the unique scent of their birthplace, imprinting a signature they can recognize years later. When it's time for them to return, they follow these subtle cues across vast distances, sensing changes in the water column as they approach familiar tributaries. Each fork in the river presents its own unique blend of minerals and organic compounds, guiding the fish in the right direction. Even the slightest variations in temperature or flow are detectable through their specialized organs. This remarkable navigation system enables them to locate spawning grounds hidden in remote valleys or highland streams. Isn't it incredible how nature has equipped these creatures with such extraordinary abilities? Researchers exploring this fascinating behavior discover that the fish possess an astonishing ability to distinguish between nearby tributaries. They can detect differences so subtle that even sophisticated instruments struggle to measure them. Their journeys unfold a sensory landscape shaped by chemical signals, a world that most creatures cannot perceive. In the heart of Australia, the Murray-Darling Basin conceals ancient riverbeds buried beneath modern channels. Sediments from long-gone rivers lie hidden under younger waterways, remnants of a landscape once transformed by shifting climates and retreating inland seas. For thousands of years, these ancient riverbeds filled with sand, clay, and silt as new rivers formed above them. Employing ground-penetrating tools, scientists have traced these ancient paths beneath fields, plains, and contemporary floodplains. Some of these old channels contain mineral deposits that shed light on how past climates influenced erosion and rainfall patterns. Fossilized roots, pollen, and shells preserved in the sediments reveal the plants and animals that thrived along these forgotten banks. While the rivers above continue to shape the region, the unseen network beneath tells a much deeper and richer story. Discover how landscapes transform through cycles of dryness and renewal as waterways shift to adapt to new gradients while leaving behind their older roots in the earth. Imagine tiny air bubbles trapped in river ice, preserving secrets of ancient atmospheres. When winter envelops a river, the surface freezes into clear sheets, and small pockets of air get trapped within the forming ice. These bubbles capture the chemical signature of the atmosphere at the exact moment they were sealed. As snow accumulates on top, the lower layers compress into solid masses, safeguarding these bubbles for extended periods. Scientists who extract these ancient ice segments can analyze the gases contained within. The ratios of oxygen and carbon dioxide unveil details about temperature, vegetation, and environmental conditions at the time the ice formed. Occasionally, volcanic ash appears in delicate streaks, signaling distant eruptions that scattered particles across the globe. By studying these frozen samples, we gain valuable insights into regional climate patterns and how river valleys reacted to extreme fluctuations in temperature. Each bubble serves as a tiny archive of air that once floated above the water, now securely locked in winter's clear embrace. The Fraser River sustains salmon runs on a scale rarely seen elsewhere. Nestled along the western edge of Canada, this river supports migrations that span hundreds of miles. Each year, salmon return from the ocean, swimming against the current toward the streams where they first emerged from gravel beds. This journey demands remarkable strength as they leap over obstacles, push through rapids, and navigate varying depths. When the salmon arrive, they transform the ecosystem dramatically. Eagles gather in large numbers along the banks, ready to feast, while bears wade into the shallows, hunting for fish as they move through narrow channels. The forests thrive as nutrients from the salmon enrich the soil after the fish complete their life cycle. Communities along the river have long depended on this seasonal return, shaping their fishing traditions, stories, and ceremonies around the migration. The sheer volume of fish creates a vibrant spectacle, a pulse of life that illustrates how a single river can support a diverse web of creatures, all relying on its dependable rhythm. Some rivers meander sideways across the land more swiftly than they flow downstream. In wide floodplains where the land barely tilts toward the sea, the water moves slowly and steadily, revealing a surprisingly playful nature. Imagine a river that doesn't rush forward, but instead tugs gently at its banks, eroding soil and roots with a persistent touch. As it bends, the water slows, allowing grains of sand and silt to settle, gradually forming new land. This uneven process creates loops that don't merely drift downstream, they glide sideways across the landscape. Over the years, a curve that once pointed one way may gradually tilt in the opposite direction as the outer bank recedes while the inner bank expands. Small lakes emerge where old bends are left behind, and strips of fertile earth reveal themselves as new curves take shape. Villages that were once distanced from the water awaken to find the river inching closer with each season. Entire landscapes transform into quiet tapestries of shifting lines, shaped by a river that prefers to meander through its valley rather than race toward the ocean. The Seine River has been molded for centuries to accommodate growing cities. Along this celebrated European waterway, the tale of human settlement unfolds through layers of engineering, adaptation, and continuous change. Early communities depended on natural banks, shallow crossings, and gentle islands, selecting these features as ideal spots for building shelters and markets. As towns expand, they craft new solutions to manage seasonal floods, building stone embankments that allow boats smoother passage. Over the years, bends are adjusted, side channels redirected, and ferries are replaced by bridges. These changes subtly, yet significantly alter the river's flow. Builders deepen the riverbed to accommodate trade vessels transporting grain, wine, textiles, and a multitude of other goods. Eventually, entire riverbanks are transformed into vibrant boulevards, walkways, and bustling harbors. Yet beneath the modern riverfront's polished exterior lies a rich tapestry of memories, echoing every shape the water has ever taken. Even now, rainfall, tides, and the gentle pressure of sediment continue to shape the river's rhythm, weaving a lasting dialogue between the city and the current coursing through its core. River tilt offered pigments for some of humanity's earliest artistic expressions, long before minerals were mined from deep within the earth or synthetic colors were crafted in workshops. Early artists sought inspiration from the riverbanks. After floods receded, fine layers of clay and iron-rich mud settled along the edges of the channel, providing the perfect materials for their creative endeavors. The deposits dry into a soft, crumbly material, easily gathered by hand and crushed into powder. When mixed with animal fat, plant oils, or water, this powder transforms into vibrant paints that cling to stone walls and carved surfaces. Some pigments yield warm reds and browns, while others provide pale yellows or muted grays. In various regions, people discover which layers produce specific colors, returning to the same banks season after season. The paintings created with these natural pigments endure for thousands of years, surviving in caves, overhangs, and rock shelters. Through them, you glimpse animals, rituals, stories, and imagined worlds, preserved in colors that first traveled down the river. Each brush of pigment connects ancient creativity with the steady flow of moving water. Some rivers glow under certain lights due to organic matter. In remarkable waterways, The water itself radiates an unusual glow when illuminated in the right conditions. This gentle luminescence arises from dissolved organic material carried from forests, wetlands, and decaying vegetation. These molecules change how light scatters through the water, especially when the moon shines brightly or the sun hovers low on the horizon. The surface of the water shimmers with soft hues of copper, gold, and green, shifting gracefully as currents weave beneath. When plankton and tiny organisms drift through these nutrient-rich waters, they introduce delicate flecks of brightness that enhance the mesmerizing effect. This glow becomes most prominent in calm stretches where ripples do not disturb the reflection. Scientists diligently study these waters to understand how nutrients flow from land into rivers and how ecosystems adapt to the rhythms of seasonal change. For those living nearby, the gentle nocturnal shine transforms into a part of local lore, infusing the water with a sense of quiet mystery, as if it possesses an inner light of its own. The Tarim River, with its unique hydrology, has played a crucial role in preserving desert mummies. In one of the driest regions on Earth, this river, fed by distant snowmelt, flows through basins embraced by salt flats and dunes. Ancient communities once depended on this slender ribbon of water for agriculture and pasture. When individuals from these cultures were laid to rest, the combination of arid conditions, mineral-rich soils, and the subtle influence of groundwater significantly slowed natural decay. Remarkably, textiles, wooden artifacts, and even hair and facial features have remained astonishingly intact for thousands of years. As you reflect on these wonders, consider the stories held within the waters and the echoes of lives once lived. Feel free to continue exploring or take a moment to rest and absorb the beauty around you. As rivers change their courses, some burial sites become abandoned, left behind in the desert, and gradually buried under layers of dust. When explorers eventually discover these ancient resting places, they unearth intricately woven clothing, tools that depict everyday life, and remains that provide insights into migration and ancestry. This remarkable preservation occurs not through intentional efforts, but rather due to a unique combination of river moisture, arid climate, and the subtle chemistry of the land surrounding these sites. Flood patterns in some rivers follow the rhythms set by distant oceans. In certain tropical and subtropical regions, waterways experience fluctuations influenced by local rainfall and vast cycles occurring in far-off seas. Changes in ocean temperatures affect atmospheric currents that sweep across continents. These shifting winds dictate where storms will form, their duration, and the amount of rainfall that will inundate a river basin. Even rivers situated deep inland can mirror these global patterns. They may rise higher during specific multi-year phases and recede during others. Layers of sediment serve as a record of these cycles, displaying alternating bands of fine and coarse materials that correspond to periods of wet and dry conditions. Take a moment to reflect on the interconnectedness of these natural rhythms and the stories they tell. You might find it fascinating how the past and present intertwine through the landscape around us. Would you like to explore more about these remarkable patterns? Communities along rivers often develop a deep understanding of their environment, shaped by the rhythmic patterns of water. They notice that the abundance of water follows a repeating pulse. Modern research supports this ancient wisdom, revealing how distant connections link the breadth of faraway oceans to the heartbeat of inland rivers. Each flood pulse contributes to a broader global narrative, woven together by air, water, and the changing climate. The Abro River once nourished irrigation systems that continue to function today, Across the Iberian Peninsula, early agricultural societies constructed intricate channels to direct river water to fields nestled in dry foothills and terraces. They thoughtfully selected pathways that harmonized with gravity, soil type, and seasonal flow, ensuring that crops could flourish even during the hottest months. Many of these original routes were so skillfully designed that later generations chose to adopt and preserve them rather than replace them. Stone-lined canals now deliver water to orchards, vineyards, and farmlands that rely on this predictable distribution. Small gates carved from wood or fashioned from stone still play a crucial role, regulating the flow of water into each section. As you reflect on these connections, consider how they shape not just the land, but the communities that thrive within it. Would you like to explore more about these fascinating relationships between people and water? As time passes, some roots of music expand and reinforce, yet the foundational structure reveals knowledge that stretches back centuries. These systems illustrate how meticulously designed water management can endure through wars, cultural shifts, and changing borders, all upheld by the river that flows past fields shaped by human hands. It takes patience and ingenuity. In broad valleys filled with gravel and coarse sediment, braided rivers shift their paths in patterns that seem almost alive. Some rivers resist a single defined channel. Instead, their currents split into multiple strands, weaving around temporary bars formed from pebbles and sand. One branch may deepen after the spring snowmelt, capturing most of the flow, only to wane as a neighboring channel gains strength during later rains. Floods can dramatically rearrange the entire pattern, sweeping away old bars and depositing new ones in entirely different locations. From above, this shifting network resembles a braided rope, continuously reshaped by the movement of water. Plants face the challenge of surviving on these unstable surfaces, and only the most resilient species manage to anchor themselves long enough to stabilize a patch. Can you imagine the delicate balance of life thriving in such an environment? As time unfolds, these patches of greenery can merge into larger expanses, eventually blending into the floodplain. The ever-shifting landscape reflects the restless spirit of water flowing freely across its valley floor. In the Aroe, islands can appear and disappear within a single lifetime. Along this significant river, the movement of sediment is so dynamic that entire landforms rise from the current, only to vanish again within a few decades. During periods of high flow, sand and silt gather in quiet eddies, creating small patches of land that expand with each passing season. Over time, shrubs take root, and families sometimes cultivate crops on this nutrient-rich soil. Yet, the very forces that give rise to these islands also continue to reshape them. A shift in the current can erode the land's foundation, sending it downstream, grain by grain. Homes and fields may need to be relocated as the river rearranges its pathways. Locals often construct lightweight structures and adopt flexible farming practices to adapt to this continuous change. From above, the islands form a mosaic of shapes, transforming every few years. Each one serves as a reminder of how swiftly a river can sculpt its own geography, offering new land while reclaiming it with an unhurried certainty. Rivers have the remarkable ability to carve natural stone arches over centuries of change. Where flowing water encounters cliffs with fractures or softer layers, erosion begins to shape extraordinary formations. Small hollows emerge as swirling currents push pebbles against vulnerable points in the rock. As seasons pass, these hollows gradually expand into alcoves, their ceilings and walls smoothed by countless rotations of suspended stones. When erosion occurs on opposite sides of a rocky spur, two growing cavities may eventually converge, leaving a bridge of stone suspended above the channel. Light filters through the resulting arch, casting shifting patterns onto the water below. Some of these formations endure for thousands of years, while others may collapse when the remaining rock becomes too fragile to support its own weight. These natural features reveal the quiet persistence of moving water, a force capable of sculpting monumental structures, grain by grain. Each arch serves as a window into the partnership between rock and river, shaped not by sudden violence, but by a long and patient motion. The Tees River carries with it human history, stretching from prehistoric camps to modern cities. As you stand by this ancient river, you can sense the deep history that stretches across time. Early communities once gathered here, hunting, fishing, and gathering materials from the surrounding plains. Beneath the soil, shaped by countless floods, lie remnants of their lives: stone tools, hearths, and fragments of pottery, waiting to tell their stories. With the passage of centuries, new cultures emerged, constructing fortified settlements atop cliffs that overlooked the water. This height offered them a vantage point to watch for travelers and trading parties. Eventually, communities built bridges, mills, and riverside markets, transforming the valley into a vibrant corridor of commerce. The river guided the placement of farms and shaped the growth of towns, influencing the design of cities that rose along its banks. Each shift in population left traces embedded in the mud layers and flood terraces, whispering tales of the past. Today, modern residents walk streets that follow the same paths once navigated by traders and herders long before maps were ever drawn. As the river continues its gentle journey toward the sea, it carries with it the memories of every era that has thrived along its shores. Some rivers even flow beneath frozen lakes, emerging warm and full of life downstream. Take a moment to reflect on the stories hidden within this timeless landscape. In regions where winter blankets the landscape, thick layers of ice form across entire lakes. Yet beneath these frozen surfaces, life continues. As the river flows into the lake, it dives below the ice, tracing the deepest channels that remain insulated from the frigid air above. The water carries the warmth that gathered upstream, continuing its journey without succumbing to freezing. When this water exits the lake, it re-enters open channels, often warmer than the cold surroundings might suggest. You might notice steam rising from the surface as the chilling air meets the exposed current. Wildlife gathers near these warmer stretches, seeking refuge in the open water, while the rest of the world lies silent beneath a blanket of frost. This fascinating pattern demonstrates how the flow of water can sustain its energy, even when everything above is locked in winter's grip. The lake serves as a temporary ceiling rather than a barrier, allowing the river to glide quietly beneath the ice, its motion hidden from view. Further afield, the Niger River creates a hidden inland delta deep within the desert. Far removed from any ocean, this extraordinary river fans out into an intricate maze of channels, marshes, and seasonal lakes, forming one of the planet's most unexpected wetlands. When the rains arrive in distant highlands, the water begins a long journey across vast landscapes. Instead of rushing through narrow channels, it slows down and spreads out, filling the low-lying areas and creating a beautiful patchwork of flooded grasslands. You can almost feel the anticipation as herds of animals migrate toward these waters, following ancient trails to fresh grazing grounds. Villages thrive on the fish that are drawn to these newly formed pools, while farmers eagerly cultivate crops in the rich soils revealed as the waters recede. Birds from across continents flock to the wetlands, seeking refuge to nest and feed. Each season brings a transformation to the region, oscillating between expansive sheets of water and fertile plains that buzz with life. The delta's existence in such a dry environment showcases the remarkable power of a single river to bring abundance to a land where rain is scarce and the desert stretches endlessly on the horizon. Some rivers thunder as they collide with hidden underground caverns. In certain areas where limestone or volcanic rock lies beneath the surface, the flowing water encounters secret pockets and chambers. As the river plunges into these openings, it strikes the walls with tremendous force, echoing the raw energy of nature. You might find yourself captivated by how these landscapes evolve, reflecting the delicate balance between water and earth. It invites you to pause and consider the wonders of nature unfolding around you. You hear the deep rumbling sounds reverberating through tunnels, sending vibrations up to the surface. As water flows more vigorously, the roar grows, filling the air with a resonant trembling that you can almost feel beneath your feet. These underground passages guide the river's movement, channeling some of its flow into hidden routes before it bursts forth into daylight further downstream. Over time, the relentless collision of water and stone carves out intricate passages that twist and turn beneath the valley floor. If you venture into these systems, you'll notice the distant rumble growing louder as you draw closer to the concealed river. This sound serves as a powerful reminder of the energy contained in flowing water and the unseen landscapes it shapes in the darkness. The Vistula River, once a carrier of amber across ancient Europe, tells a story of forgotten trade routes that once linked coastal communities with distant inland settlements. People gathered this golden resin from beaches and forest floors along the northern shores, where natural processes revealed these treasures. Traders transported the resin by boat and along river paths, delivering it to regions where it held great value for decoration, rituals, and symbolic significance. As you reflect on this journey through time, consider how these ancient connections still resonate today. Would you like to continue exploring this fascinating history, or perhaps take a moment to rest? The river flows like a natural guide, winding past villages that serve as gathering points for goods, stories, and ideas. Over generations, trade flourishes, connecting distant cultures eager for the warm glow of resin, treasured for art and ornamentation. Archaeological discoveries near ancient riverbanks unveil beads, carvings, and artifacts crafted from this material, preserved in burial sites and settlements that have long since faded. As the river meanders endlessly toward the sea, it acts as a vital artery for this exchange, nurturing networks that span vast distances and shape early European commerce. Some rivers cradle fossils from epochs when continents were still joined together. In remote valleys and along eroded cliffs, layers of sediment safeguard remnants from times when Earth's land masses formed a single expansive supercontinent. Ancient fish, early reptiles, and long-extinct plants lie encased in rock that once settled at the bottoms of lakes and floodplains. As rivers carve through these layers, they reveal fragments that tell the stories of creatures that inhabited climates now separated by oceans. The positioning of these fossils aids scientists in tracing how continental plates drifted apart and how ecosystems transformed as shorelines shifted. Take a moment to reflect on this intricate dance of nature and time. Isn't it fascinating how the past still whispers through the flow of rivers? You are invited to continue this exploration or take a moment to rest and ponder. Imagine stepping into a world where ancient stories are etched into the very earth beneath your feet. You find trackways pressed into soft mud, now hardened into stone, revealing the paths of animals that once roamed along ancient riverbanks. Each fragment you encounter is a piece of a larger narrative, sharing tales of rainfall, vegetation, and life from eras long past. The river serves as a living window into this forgotten world, carrying traces of the times that shaped our planet long before humans arrived. As you follow its flow, you discover how the Po nourishes floodplains, transforming them into some of Europe's most fertile farmland. In northern Italy, this river spreads water and sediment across vast plains, cultivated by generations of farmers. You can almost feel the rich, dark soil beneath your hands, enriched by mineral-rich silt carried from distant mountains. Farmers have learned to skillfully guide seasonal waters into channels, ensuring their fields are refreshed without losing precious crops. When the river swells after snowmelt or heavy rains, it breathes life into fields of grains, fruits, and vegetables, thriving in the well-structured earth. Villages flourish alongside these bountiful lands, weaving traditions around planting, harvesting, and irrigation. The floodplain not only supports agriculture, but also nurtures wetlands that provide sanctuary for birds and aquatic life. This vibrant mosaic of natural and cultivated spaces invites you to explore, to reflect, and perhaps to consider the delicate balance of life that has persisted through the ages. As you take in this scene, you may feel inspired to continue your journey or simply pause and absorb the beauty surrounding you. The interplay of seasonal flooding, nutrient-rich sediment, and human ingenuity has crafted a landscape teeming with abundance. The river continuously supplies the essential elements for growth, nurturing a region where agriculture, culture, and water have long been interconnected. Some rivers, in their winding journey, may cut off their own meanders, leaving behind hidden lakes. As the bends stretch and widen over time, the outer edges erode faster than the inner ones, creating curves that drift apart with each passing season. During significant floods, the river may surge across the narrow neck of a loop, carving a quicker route for its journey. The old bend then becomes isolated from the main channel as the new path stabilizes. What remains is a crescent-shaped lake, often shrouded by reeds, trees, and tranquil marshes. These lakes can nurture distinct communities of plants and animals, flourishing in the still waters, shielded from the main current. Over the years, sediment accumulates in the remaining curve, gradually filling the basin and transforming it into a meadow or wetland. From above, these features appear as elegant scars, marking the river's earlier course. As you reflect on this natural process, consider the beauty of change and the resilience of life in these hidden corners of the landscape. The abandoned river loops reveal how flowing water carves new paths that adapt to its ever-changing energy. These twists and turns leave behind hidden pockets of tranquility, shaped by moments of dramatic change. The Mackenzie River pours vast streams of fresh water into the Arctic Ocean. As it flows across expansive northern landscapes, this significant river carries immense volumes of water toward the icy seas. The current gains strength from tributaries that drain lush forests, tundra, and wetlands stretching for miles. As the river nears the coast, it spreads into a wide delta filled with branching channels that weave through marshes and low-lying islands. The fresh water entering the Arctic plays a crucial role in shaping currents that influence sea ice formation and the movement of marine life. During the summer, migrating birds flock to the delta, feasting on insects and nesting among the grasses. Fish navigate through this intricate network of channels, moving between inland waters and coastal zones. Seasonal changes transform the region from a frozen silence into a vibrant landscape alive with activity. The river's powerful flow serves as a vital link between inland ecosystems and the northern ocean, transporting nutrients, sediments, and energy across an environment marked by cold, light, and the dramatic cycles of growth and rest. Take a moment to appreciate the delicate balance of life that unfolds here, inviting you to explore further or simply pause and reflect. Some rivers transform into vibrant shades of blue and green, thanks to the minerals they release. In specific watersheds, the surrounding rocks dissolve into the current, creating striking color changes in the water. When sunlight hits these mineral-rich flows, it scatters into brilliant hues that shift with the angle, depth, and season. You might see turquoise, milky blue, emerald green, and soft jade tones in calm pools or wide bends. Glacial flour, a fine powder formed when ice grinds stone into tiny particles, adds a bright opacity that enhances these colors. In other instances, dissolved limestone or volcanic minerals provide clarity, revealing gleaming stones on the riverbed beneath the surface. Local wildlife adapts to these unique conditions, finding refuge among rocks that shimmer in shifting colors. Travelers often describe these rivers as otherworldly, captivated by their unusual brightness. The vivid water serves as a natural record of the geology around it, reflecting the land's chemistry through color alone. The Tiber, for example, preserves Roman artifacts deep within its muddy layers. As this historic river flows through the heart of an ancient empire, countless objects slipped from bridges, docks, markets, and bustling riverbanks, telling stories of a time long past. During festivals, coins slip from pockets, creating a gentle cascade. Pottery shatters and tumbles into the current, while tools, sandals, decorative pieces, religious offerings, and carved tokens drift downwards, both on ordinary days and during celebrations. Floods sweep away entire sections of riverbank from ancient streets and bridges, depositing them downstream, where they become entwined in layers of silt. Over the centuries, these buried remnants transform into the river's memory. Each flood adds fresh mud, sealing objects deeper and protecting them from decay. As excavators work along the modern banks, they sometimes unearth these long-lost treasures, offering glimpses into the vibrant daily life of a once mighty city. The river has safeguarded items that people never imagined would endure. Its slow accumulation of layered mud turns simple debris into a hidden archive, quietly waiting beneath the shifting currents. In some places, rivers disappear into limestone, traveling underground for miles. Where limestone forms the bedrock, water takes advantage of natural cracks, dissolving the stone grain by grain and carving pathways beneath the surface. This intricate process reveals the river's hidden mysteries, inviting you to reflect on the stories concealed within its depths. A steady flowing current might seem ordinary, yet it can suddenly vanish into a sinkhole, plunging into a realm of darkness where sunlight never penetrates. Once underground, the water navigates winding corridors sculpted by millennia of erosion. It travels through chambers with soaring ceilings and narrow tunnels that resonate with distant echoes. As the river meanders through this hidden labyrinth, it leaves behind mineral deposits on the walls, creating smooth surfaces that shimmer under the glow of lantern light. Eventually, the current reemerges at a spring further downhill, sometimes warmer or cooler than one might expect, depending on the path it has taken through the earth. Above ground, the landscape appears unchanged. However, beneath the surface lies a secret river system, quietly flowing through stone. These underground journeys demonstrate how water can shape vast, unseen realms, hidden from those who tread above. The Darling River cradles bibongs, reservoirs that retain water long after the floods recede. Across arid expanses, this river carves out pools that follow the rhythms of the seasons. When the rains swell the river, it spreads across the surrounding land, filling depressions that become isolated once the waters retreat. Take a moment to reflect on the hidden wonders beneath your feet and consider the stories told by the water as it journeys through the earth. These tranquil pools, celebrated for their enduring stillness, become vital oases as the heat of summer intensifies. You notice birds gathering at their edges, while animals come to drink during the coolness of dawn and dusk. Along the banks, plants that thrive on consistent moisture establish their roots, finding a haven in this lush environment. Some pools remain linked to the river during the wetter months, whereas others stand alone, held by clay-lined basins that prevent the water from draining too quickly into the earth. As the water levels drop, fish often find refuge in the deeper hollows, managing to survive periods of scarcity until the next flood restores the connection. These bibongs transform an unpredictable river into a resilient ecosystem, capable of supporting life even through prolonged dry spells. They quietly demonstrate how flowing water influences surroundings far beyond its immediate banks. In certain rivers, natural whirlpools emerge, shifting with the seasons. You might observe these swirling columns of water where currents clash with hidden obstacles, or where the riverbed dips suddenly. They appear as gentle spirals, drawing in floating leaves and sticks before releasing them downstream. The strength of these formations varies with the changing seasons, each whispering stories of nature's rhythm. As the river flows, the powerful rush of runoff sharpens its rotation. This deepens the swirl, drawing the water downward with an invigorated force. When the river runs low, those whirlpools may shrink or disappear entirely, leaving behind only a gentle ripple to hint at their past vitality. You might notice fish gathering near the edges, where nutrients swirl upward. The sound of shifting currents reveals the subtle movements happening beneath the surface. Although these spirals seem almost alive, they simply follow the laws of physics, shaped by fluctuating water levels and hidden contours. Their existence serves as a reminder that rivers possess their own quiet machinery, adjusting with the seasons as if guided by an unseen hand. The riverbed holds layers of history that stretch back to ancient hunters. Long before a great city rose along its banks, this river meandered through open grasslands where early humans gathered to hunt and forage. Their footsteps pressed into the mud, which hardened during dry seasons, only to be buried beneath newer layers of sediment later. As groups moved across the landscape following herds, stone tools, broken spear points, and fragments of animal bones settled into the riverbed, telling stories of lives once lived. As time unfolds, new civilizations craft wooden walkways, build boats, and establish riverside structures, many of which eventually slip beneath the water's surface. In the following eras, bustling markets and thriving ports emerge, introducing various objects lost during daily activities, ceremonies, and storms. Each passing era leaves behind traces that floods cover with fresh mud, sealing them away for the future. Today, archaeologists delve into these waters, uncovering items that narrate the shifting cultures, stories, and technologies of the past. The river holds the memories of every community that has shaped its banks, storing their traces beneath layers built up over centuries of flowing water. Some rivers traverse fault lines, carrying evidence of ancient quakes, where a river intersects a fracture in the Earth's crust, the landscape can shift dramatically beneath the water. When a fault moves during an earthquake, the riverbed may suddenly rise or fall, changing the flow's direction without warning. Channels can be displaced sideways, leaving offset riverbanks that illustrate how far the land has shifted in a brief moment. Sediment layers capture these events as abrupt breaks, where deposits tilt or fold. Over time, plants and animals recolonize the altered shorelines, creating a patchwork of old and new surfaces that merge into a single harmonious scene.